Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have updates to share with you guys about the Donald Trump Jeffrey Epstein cover up. And they really, at least one of them in particular, shows how full of it these people are, how completely two-faced they're being with the MAGA supporters, with the Epstein victims, and how they are absolutely involved in a cover up. So on Friday, you guys may or may not have heard this, but news broke that Donald Trump's Justice Department is asking the court to hide the names of two different Epstein associates who received a combined $350,000 from Jeffrey Epstein. Now, you might say, and I'll bring this up for you guys, you might say, well, so what that he paid people? We're only considered or concerned with, I should say, the money that was paid to him, right? Because the accusation is that Epstein was blackmailing people and that's where his money came from. Well, I'm going to explain to you why this is important, what makes these names so crucial, why this is a, big brouhaha all of a sudden, and the reason why this is such a possibly nefarious action on his part is because these payments were made to these two people in 2018. So these payments were made 2 days after the Miami Herald reporter Julie K. Brown, you guys might know she's done some of the most in-depth, incredible reporting on Epstein, on his victims, on, that sweetheart deal that he got from Alex Acosta. So 2 days after she started pumping out these articles in the Miami Herald, because there was like a series of articles that she was doing criticizing the sweetheart deal, this non-prosecution agreement that Epstein got. Also, she was publishing articles speaking with the actual victims, putting their side of the story out there. So that's when these payments were made. So in 2019, when the first Trump administration filed charges against Epstein, Trump's Department of Justice actually cited those two payments when they told the court that they needed to hold Epstein prior to his trial. They said, look, he's made these two payments. We are concerned that Epstein might be attempting to influence witnesses with payments or other means. So we need him locked up so that he can't get to witnesses, so that he can't, do something to harm the case. So again, this is potentially bribery money. He potentially bribed these two people so that they wouldn't testify against him. And then those two people who received that money were also wrapped into his non-prosecution agreement and given a pass. As you guys may recall, part of that non-prosecution agreement, part of that sweetheart deal, that slap on the wrist that he got, included a get-out-of-jail-free card for any of his co-conspirators. And according to news reports, these two associates were described in charging documents as co-conspirators. So these weren't just, they weren't even victims. They weren't even, they may have been victims as well, because there was some overlap. I think anyone will agree, some of the women or girls at that time became co-conspirators almost by force because they were forced to bring other girls to him. But anyway, in regard to at least one of these two associates, Trump's Department of Justice wrote, quote, and this was Donald Trump's first Department of Justice, not Pam Bondi, but under his first administration, when this all was going down, when Epstein had been charged, they told the court, quote, This individual is also one of the employees indicted or identified in the indictment, which alleges that she and two other identified employees facilitated the defendant's trafficking of minors by, among other things, contacting victims and scheduling their sexual encounters with the defendant at his residences in Manhattan and Palm Beach, Florida. So these are two alleged accomplices of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and Trump's Justice Department was telling the court back in 2019, do not release their names at that time because we're prosecuting him. Well, he's dead now, right? But yet Donald Trump's Attorney General and his Justice Department is still trying to hide these people's names. A U.S. attorney who was appointed by Donald Trump sent just this last week, I think it was, sent a response to the court and said that these two people haven't given their consent to have their names unsealed. And so we need to respect that. We need to keep them hidden. Now, that is true, right? I mean, they have requested, sorry guys, I have a hair. They have requested that their names be kept sealed. Legal experts are saying, that is their right. The government is just abiding by these rules, what these people want, because they haven't been charged with a crime. The problem that they're going to run into is that at least one of these two Epstein associates was already named. They were already outed in the Miami Herald reporting. That's according to news reports. Now, the Miami Herald, I was reading all of those reports by Julie K. Brown back then. I think I even reached out to her at once and asked her to come on my show. Never got a response. But in any case, the Miami Herald reported a lot of names. Julie K. Brown, like I said, she did a deep dive. She reported a ton of names. So it's hard to say which two of these people received payments. But regardless, their names are out there already. They're already connected to Epstein in the public sphere. So that's going to be an issue with them now saying, oh, we have to be kept secret. And a former federal prosecutor made a really great point on MSNBC. So I want you guys to take a look and hear what she had to say. Sorry, I had to turn on my sound.
The problem with that motion is not too long ago, we got a very different motion from this Department of Justice where they asked for grand jury materials to be unsealed. And there is a press they're talking about the fact that they are committed to transparency. There was a press release in February of this year stating that this Department of Justice was committed to transparency and releasing the Epstein files. You can't have it both ways. You cannot continue to speak about being transparent and stating that the public interest is great in these materials and therefore materials need to be unsealed, and then say, well, actually, not so much with respect to X, Y, and Z. It doesn't make sense. It's inconsistent. Their positions are very difficult to understand. And I expect that the judge will have some problems in terms of really understanding where is the coherent position of the Department of Justice.
So yeah, I mean, they look like total hypocrites. So we'll see what the judge says, but this is just more evidence that the Trump administration is trying to bury the facts. They're trying to cover for Epstein's alleged accomplices or maybe even Trump himself, and they make no sense. And then some other big news broke on Friday. All of a sudden, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, a Trump Republican, total Trump humper, he is claiming now that Donald Trump was an FBI informant against Epstein. Yeah, I know, laughable. Check this out. I have the video of this for you guys.
What Trump is referring to is the hoax that the Democrats are using to try to attack him. He has never said or suggested or implied. I've talked to him about this many times.
It comes
He is
across as
horrified.
calling the whole thing a hoax.
It's been misrepresented. He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
Yeah. Yeah. You know who he hasn't spoken to? You know who he hasn't in the last 24 hours or 72 hours or even the last 7 months or 9 months, whatever his presidency has been so far? It feels like 10 years, but he hasn't spoken with the victims, has not said a word about them. He has railed against this so-called hoax, the Democratic hoax. He's told everyone to shut up about it. He's told everyone to just move on and forget about the whole Epstein thing. But he hasn't said a word about the victims. He hasn't come out and promised them, in his own words, with his own mouth, that he's going to do anything about this or help them or meet with them. And you know, Johnson, Mr. Bible Thumper, I could have sworn there was something in that Bible about lying. Any of you remember that? He's so full of shit. You know, and when Johnson was asked in this same interview if Trump would be reaching out to the victims, he said something along the lines of, oh, I'm sure he will. You know, he has such compassion for them. Total BS, total and complete BS. And we have proof. Look at this. No outreach to Epstein victims despite Trump's vow to investigate, lawyers say. So 9 different attorneys representing a bunch of different Epstein victims have all confirmed that neither Trump or his Justice Department have reached out to their clients, not to express sympathy and not even to investigate. None of them have been contacted. And then check this out. Spencer Coven, I think that's how you pronounce it. He is a chief legal officer of one of the firms that's representing some of these victims. He told the Guardian news outlet in this article, quote, I have heard nothing from the DOJ and they have provided me no updates to give my clients. I have even sent a letter to the committee chair volunteering to speak about or speak with them about the original investigation and litigation. This letter was completely ignored. It is appalling that the federal government is again failing to keep the victims at the center of this investigation. Instead, it appears that all the government is interested in is attempting to whitewash the prior investigation. So, have not reached out to the victims, never contacted them before Pam Bondi said, oh, we're done here, case closed, nothing to see, we've decided there's no co-conspirators, there are no uncharged third parties, we're done with this, we're moving on. There won't be anything else released and, you know, nothing to see here. Never bothered to contact a single witness, never spoke with a single victim. Are you telling me that's how investigations are done? I mean, maybe in the Trump administration, because it's a frickin' clown show. But this just screams cover-up. Absolutely screams it. And the attorney for Epstein victim, Maria Farmer, she told The Guardian, quote, not only has the DOJ refused to engage survivors, but they obstructed routine and valid requests for information. In January 2025, in response to a basic FOIA request, which is Freedom of Information Act request, the government informed us that they would respond by November 2027, nearly 3 years later. So they will go, Trump's Department of Justice will go and spend 2 full days with a convicted child trafficker and accused perjurer, Ghislaine Maxwell, but they won't bother to even respond to a victim's request for documents or offer to speak with Congress, or when they offer to speak with Congress, they shoot them down. And, oh, remind me who's in charge of Congress again right now? Oh, that's right, Republicans. MAGA Republicans. That tells you everything you need to know. This is the most blatant, egregious cover-up for the wealthy and well-connected that we have ever had in this country. And the longer this drags out, the worse this is getting for Trump, because women are coming out of the woodwork with stories. After that press conference that I shared with you guys last week with all the Epstein victims, a couple of them said other alleged victims are now reaching out. They now are saying, you know what, you guys were so brave. I want to tell my story. I want to come out. I've decided to go public. So this story isn't going away. This is growing every day. My concern, and I said this for those of you who don't know, for anybody who donates $4.99 a month or more, we have a once a month, it's a Zoom hangout is what I call it, where we just spend like an hour or two and we just shoot the shit. We talk about, what's going on in the news or our families, our pets, whatever. Anyway, we were talking about this on Saturday last weekend, because that's when it is, the first Saturday of every month. I was sharing with them my concern is that all Donald Trump and his Justice Department are trying to do is they're buying time. I think that they're trying to buy time, delay having to put anything out, and that they're going through with a fine-tooth comb and extracting anything and everything that names Donald Trump and any Republican involvement. That is my concern, that they're copying, pasting, using all kinds of computer programs, AI or whatever, Adobe, to edit things, to make it look like they were never in there. And how would we know, right? None of us have ever seen the original documents. So how would we know? So that's what I think they're doing. I think that they're dragging this out. I think that's why they said, oh yeah, we'll get it to you in 2027, because that will be after the midterms, right? And then hopefully from their perspective, it won't matter. Anyway, I, as always, will keep an eye on this. I will definitely let you guys know what's going on. I thought I had more to share with you, but I guess not. I think I showed you everything. Anyway, there you go. I'll keep you posted. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like this video. Please share it with everyone you know so they understand what's going down and how this cover-up is growing. Please subscribe if you have not. It really, really helps the show, and it's totally free to become a subscriber. If you can donate, truly helps to keep the show going. Things are down, just like the economy is down right now. Things are down all over, definitely down here on YouTube. So appreciate your help. Thank you all so much again. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.